I am Hyper-G, and I'm here again with Lucky Sixes.
Hello!
To continue our rulebook review for version 2.0.
For the beta.
Yeah,
the
of
beta.
the night page.
The Buddha.
And if you stuck through the first video, I commend you. Well done.
And you've returned.
And you've returned.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Don't say that.
Sorry,
we want them to listen.
Of course you've returned.
Yes, of course. So we're on to the charge phase, and we may as well charge right in. Did you see what I did there? That's really
We're
good.
high-fiving right now.
Yeah. We missed. Okay. So charge phase obviously is a new phase. Predominantly I think it's the same as the charge subphase was, except for this little decimated test.
Yeah.
Which is all new, isn't it? I don't think that existed before at all.
No. So yeah, it's basically saying if you're below 25%, then you have to take a test every time to do anything.
Is that and that's whether you're fleeing or not?
Yeah.
Or is that just for the units that aren't fleeing?
No. Unengaged and below 25%.
Okay.
So I think this relates to that chaff unit that of 5 cavalry.
Yeah.
That you shoot and you hit 4 because of bad rolling.
Yeah.
And 1 is still survive, and it's just as good as having 5.
Okay.
So I think they go, right, let's make that to the low leadership stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's make it because if you've got chaff like that, you're likely to be out of your leadership range.
Yeah. And
they want that to be
gone.
Well, as not gone, but like less likely to not affect you.
Yeah, because if we're honest, if we had an option to choose one redirecting cavalry model, we would choose it every time and not even bother with 5.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a bit broad. You would want a few to die from shooting or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, if you go 5 single ones, so you'd pay for that.
Yes, you would, absolutely.
But I think what it's saying is if you've got that unit, and there will be other things as well, that they shouldn't just be able to move around freely. They should have some penalty.
Yeah, and if you fail your decimated test and become shaken, that vastly reduces the amount of movement and activity that you can do.
Yeah, and shaken's a new rule.
Shaken's a new rule entirely.
Yeah.
It's basically it's like a once you've rallied, you become shaken as well. So it's another way to become shaken. Basically, if you've been absolutely battered during the battle, you've got a good chance of being shaken, and that limits your capability for the rest of the battle.
You can do, yeah.
I like it.
Or at least that turn.
Yeah, that turn.
When you've been shaken. Yeah.
If you do manage to pass your next discipline test, you're not shaken, and you can function normally.
Sure.
Which is cool. I like that addition.
Yeah.
Some might argue it overcomplicates things, but I think it's necessary to prevent those annoying tactics.
It's just a different part of the game now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just something else you've got to factor in.
Yeah.
It may mean you don't have to finish off a unit because there's less chance of it passing its decimated test. But no, that all depends on what options you have. So moving on, declaring charges is the same. Charge reactions is the same. I think, pretty much. And they're all good. We like them. It's very clear on what you have to do.
Yeah, it's just all chat about it. It's changing how it says it in the rulebook, I think.
Yeah, but
no, actually, fleeing might be different. Fleeing, you don't go centre to centre. I don't know actually.
Read it quick.
The charge unit starts fleeing. It is immediately pivoted to face directly away from the charging enemy and performs a flee move. I don't know whether we just did this or whether this has changed. That
bit. Centre to centre.
So it is still centre to centre.
It is centre.
I may be talking rubbish.
You may be talking about something else that you've read.
Yeah.
But reading's not your strong point anyway.
Oh no. You know what I am thinking of? I'm thinking about fleeing from combat.
That is different. That'll come up a bit later. Yeah, you're fine. You're getting too excited.
I'm always too excited when it comes to T9A.
Nice. Okay, so we'll move on from fleeing just to stop you from getting confused.
I'm so excited.
Redirecting a charge is as normal.
Yep.
If you pass your discipline test, you can do so. Maximum of 1 redirect. So you can't just have multiple enemies fleeing and keep on charging new enemies. That's the same as it always was. And then move your charges, and yeah.
I think it says they've taken out the wheel may not exceed 90 degrees. So
Yeah.
I think maybe you get more if you can see someone, you get more flexibility in your wheel to charge them.
Yeah.
I don't know how important that is.
No, it definitely gets very complicated, and every situation is different.
Yeah, but I imagine that has been taken out to make it easier to just move stuff. Because if something's 91 degrees, it's a failed charge, and they just want you to charge.
So yeah, you want to be able to charge on most occasions. Yeah, if you follow all the other rules.
It's a small thing. I don't think it matters too much.
No,
but something to bear in mind if that has ever happened to you.
Yeah, you don't want an opponent saying, "Sorry, you can't charge that. You're 91 degrees wheeling," and stuff like that. Would be a little bit pedantic.
Yep.
Aligning units is very much the same. I like the whole maximising contact for multiple charging units, or you have to get your priorities right. And
the priorities only very rarely come up, but we've had it a few times.
Yeah, there are ways of contacting an enemy unit to benefit your attacking capability, and it basically standardises what you can and can't do, and what has to be in contact and what doesn't.
Yeah. So if you ever got a dispute, this is the page for you.
Yes, it is, definitely. Yeah. Charge a fleeing unit, that's all the same as it was. It seemed a little bit of a broken record. We're saying most things are the same, but that's because these rules weren't bad.
No.
They were all good, so why change them?
Why change them?
Yeah, and I agree with that. They are very good. Blocked path is new, I think, or is that a 1.3 thing? I don't know if you read about this at all.
No, go on.
Well, my understanding is that what you could previously do was move one of your units to make it impossible for an enemy to charge.
Okay.
So that they couldn't charge the unit you're using to block, or anyone else, because charging that blocking unit would be an illegal charge for some reason.
Oh, right, okay.
So they've made it so that the blocked path thing has come in to prevent people from being blocked.
So there's very few failed charges if you can see a unit, is that what it's saying?
Basically, your opponent can't make it, so you can't charge.
Okay.
Because of, like, for example, if you were in an opponent's flank and you couldn't fit in their flank.
Is that like when there's terrain?
Yeah, and other units and all sorts of complications. But yeah, the blocked path thing is,
So what happens instead then?
I think it's basically you have to go by the priorities it originally says, but you're allowed to move the blocker.
Oh, okay.
Instead of the charger and things like that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one and a complicated one, but because they put it in, it means that people can't be sneaky.
Yeah.
Because there are people out there who are very, very good at exploiting rules to make unrealistic situations.
Okay.
Cool. Not that the whole wargaming with fantasy creatures isn't realistic to begin with. Failed charge, pretty much the same.
See, I've heard that the wheeling, you wheel first now, and I think that while we did that, I think that's a new thing that's been moved for 2.0.
Right.
So I think if you were to fail, and there's some situations where you fail and you get obstructed for future charges.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But now, you basically clear a path as much as you can.
Yeah.
So you wheel, and so for example, if you've got a building in front of you, and you could have wheeled like that to face the centre, or if it flees or something, then you would flee to move towards it, and then go forwards.
Okay.
But if you were to go forwards and there was a building, say, you just continue wheeling first,
right, and
then go so you clear the building.
Okay, so it's clarified that
again. It's basically stopping you being and with failed charges that often happens when someone flees. So it's stopping someone fleeing, and then you having to on your next turn after a failed charge, which is always a bad position.
Yeah.
To then manoeuvre again, so you effectively lose a turn.
Okay. Yeah, these sorts of situations are not easy to explain because they're quite unique.
Yeah, and I'm doing lots of hand signals. Yeah, if you were here, you'd understand perfectly.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's like, of course.
I understand the rule fully now because of those hand signals. Yeah, but they're really not showing.
Most of them rude.
Well. Yeah, but, they are. Yeah, I think this diagram here is a blocked path charge that I was trying to explain.
Okay.
In that the blue unit is trying to charge the dark green unit, but under the normal rules it cannot complete the charge because the light green unit has been placed to prevent the charge.
I see.
So what it's saying is now the blue unit moves as far forward as it can, and then the dark green unit has to move ever so slightly to enable the charge to be possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is interesting. I mean, I don't know whether that limits the usage of redirectors.
Yeah, potentially.
In that situation, I mean, there might be, if, for example, the light green unit was only one model wide and it stuck itself right in front, in between the blue and the green, I don't think you'd be able to charge. I think that would still be okay.
Yeah.
But in this situation, the light green unit is only slightly blocking it.
Okay. So it's just for silly things, really.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are ways that is going to come into effect. Okay. But
cool.
We're not experts, so we probably shouldn't go into it that much. That diagram is a usual one. I think that was in the 1.1 and the 1.3 rulebook. So just clarifying, if you get stuck with terrain, you can move the charged unit. No, you can't move the charged unit, sorry. You have to reduce the amount of models that you charge in order to make it illegal. Yeah, so you can't move the charged unit so that you get more models in base contact.
Okay.
So the second example is the good one. But anyway, like we say,
and again, lots of very, very good diagrams, very well explained.
Yeah.
And if you're into that sort of thing, this is so up your street.
Definitely. Yeah. And those diagrams are all about maximising multiple charge. So cool. We will move on because there's so many ways that could all happen. But a lot of it is the same as it has been for 1.3 and 1.1. So all good. Movement phase, like I say, this is now its own phase without charging. Compulsory moves got sort of taken away, and instead they've got the sub-phases. Basically the same, and that you try and rally your fleeing units first of all. In order to rally your fleeing units, you take a discipline test like you used to. If you are under 25%, you have to do it at half discipline, which is the same as what it was. The only difference is if you do manage to pass your discipline test to rally, you're now shaken. And we'll see the shaken rule later on when it's explained in the special rules section. But that's much like the decimated test. So you become shaken after you've rallied, which I like. It's a way of tying rallied units in with small units that have failed their decimated tests. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And if you obviously fail your rally test, you continue fleeing. Same way you're already going, pretty much, which has been the case for a little while and is good.
Yeah.
Moving units is the same. And obviously your advanced move is your lower value. Generally.
Yeah, I think one thing, again, a very small thing. There's a bit extra here. No model can end its movement with its centre farther away than its advance rate from its start position.
Yeah,
and the same for march unit with march move. So you've got to be careful about your horde units.
Yes,
really wheeling marching and stuff, so that bottom left doesn't move
really far.
So one thing that suggests that I've heard is that have it like your unit marked down before you move it, so that you can easily measure if there's any complaints.
Yeah, I mean, you generally get to know how detailed your opponent wants to be, but
it's only if you're in a situation where you don't know and you don't know how they might be, or if someone's particularly up on you, but it might be something to think about.
Just to be careful. Yeah. March move follows exactly the same. Like I say, the march move is now not automatically double your advance rate, so you may need to glance at your army book slightly more than you used to. You can't just double it and expect that to be right.
Yep.
And obviously, the fact that they've been separated allows chariots a bit more options, because not all chariots cannot march now, as we've already got into. But most of them can't march. I know my orc chariot can't march.
Well, we'll get into that. Come on.
I wasn't complaining. Reforming is the same.
An elf can march.
Yeah, well, I'm just shocked about that. To be honest, I wanted to stop doing the video. Pivots and wheels, again, the same. Oh, this diagram's really complicated. Shall we move on?
Yes, there's
look at that.
The lines and the curves and the colours.
I'm sure a mathematician had to have done those diagrams.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done. Move on. Oh, magic phase.
Thank God. Thank God.
Oh, I'm exhausted.
I hope there's no diagrams. They're great. But
yeah. So yeah, we've already talked about the three types of wizard: apprentices, adepts, and wizard masters. Which is your favourite Lucky Sixes?
I like the master. I'm a big master.
You like the masters? Okay, I like the adepts.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
I think the adepts are really cool.
Or the adepts.
Don't start that again. Adepts.
Adepts.
Yeah, the second level. They're my favourite. I think I'm going to use them a lot. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, whereas the apprentices might be what you used to call your scroll caddy, but the scroll doesn't exist.
There's no scroll to caddy.
Wow.
He's just a terrible golfing caddy.
Spells, they're very similar to 1.1 and 1.3 in that they all have their properties, and I think 1.1 and 1.3 really moved on in the right direction for spell types and what you can do when, and the rules for it. And I think that's one way that the Ninth Age has really done well in explaining to players what they can and can't do with their spells.
They've got critical magic, haven't they?
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I don't think it's had any need to change much for 2.0, which is a testament to how well they've done previously with versions.
Yeah.
The whole learn spells, hereditary spells, and replicable spells is something a little bit new. Learn spells have been around since 1.3. Each path usually has 6. I think all of them have 6. Each army has a hereditary spell, some more powerful than others.
Correct. There's not many replicable
those spells,
rep spells around.
Yeah, there's not many of them.
Mainly, I think they're very niche. Probably undead.
Yeah,
will have them. But that's a niche spell, I think.
Yeah, a new type of spell, which is cool. And the attribute spells as well, the 4th type. Which,
and again, they've added that in because you now can't cast the same spell twice.
Yes. But multiple wizards can have the same spell.
They can have the same spell, but they cannot cast the spell.
Attempt to cast. It should be added. Because if you attempt to cast a spell and fail, that doesn't mean that the wizard who's also got it can attempt it. I like how these rules are laid out. I really like it. And a lot of that, other than the hereditary spells, is similar to how it was.
Yep.
And like I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just add to it, which is the hereditary side. The spell types, like I've already said, I'm very happy with those. And it explains things.
They haven't changed much. It's more just explaining it in the new way.
Just making sure that all the rules tie in together.
Yeah.
Like that a lot. Spell duration. This is one that has changed ever so slightly. The remains in play spell is gone. And I am delighted, I have to say.
Yeah.
I didn't like that if an enemy casts a remains in place spell on you, not only did that limit or have an effect on one of your units or more, but it also pretty much shut down your following magic phase, unless you wanted to leave it on.
If you forgot about it.
If you forgot about it.
That was basically 2 of your phases.
Yeah, you could guarantee your opponent who cast it doesn't forget about it, and at the end of your magic phase, he'll pop up and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, your unit's dead." Oh, what?
Take those strength 10 tests on every single model.
Yes.
Again.
Oh no. And it's very upsetting. So I like that remains in play is gone. It was a nice effect, but I think in terms of the game, it didn't help the players.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of permanent.
Okay.
I'm going to put that one out there.
Right. I don't think there's a lot of permanent spells.
There's not. I think there's one alchemy that's like -1 armor forever and things.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Yeah, they are very good.
So, that's a personal.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think permanent is a bit powerful.
Yeah, but I mean, they're good and you can dispel them if you really don't like them. So it's not like a
yeah.
But your personal taste. But
so you prefer everything to be either instant or last one turn? And be done with.
I would, but then permanent has some variety as well.
Yeah,
and
it does.
It makes it harder for. So maybe those permanent ones aren't necessarily really hard spells, so they're not like the no armor saves ever.
Yeah,
but there's something
slightly
because they're permanent.
Lose 1 armor save.
Yeah, because they're permanent. If they're done early enough in the battle, they can have quite a big effect.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was good. Remaining players gone. The Magic Phase sequence. Obviously, this is where things changed a lot between 1.3 and 2.0. Like we've mentioned, this isn't really an explaining video as such. It's more of a review. So we're going to go through it as it's written in this rulebook and give our opinions rather than trying to explain how to do it. At the start of the Magic Phase, you draw a Flux card.
Flux Pavilion.
Now, one thing I heard right from the off, a little bit of a complaint with the whole Flux card system, is that people could mark their cards so that they are aware of what Flux card they're going to draw.
Who would do that?
The audacity. I know. And so people are a little bit,
wow.
Yeah.
I think those players need to not use cards.
They need to be told off.
Need to be told.
Yeah, but they have added in, instead of using Flux card at the bottom, you can randomise what Flux card to use if you are really suspicious of your opponent. So
you can always use dice as well.
You can always
I think that's what they're saying, actually, isn't it? As well?
Yeah. So enough about the whole discipline side of things.
But there is no players.
Yeah. There are no player like
do that. So it's a moot point.
It is. Okay, I will move on. I have been told. Point. Yeah. So Flux cards means that you draw one of your 8 cards. There's only 6 turns as always, so you will not use 2 of them in the turn. And once a Flux card has been drawn, it's gone for the rest of the game. You won't get that same Flux card again.
Yeah.
It reveals to you how many magic dice both players start with. And it also reveals to you the amount of Veil tokens that the active player gets. And it's only the active player that gets Veil tokens. The reactive player doesn't get Veil tokens at this stage and cannot use their Veil tokens for magical effects. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Am I right in believing you can't change your Veil tokens for Dispel dice?
I believe that is the case.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, we'll check that for sure in a minute.
No, that's what I thought. So basically, essentially, firstly, what it's doing is it's stopping the double 1s and the double 6 dice. And putting it either heavily, like you're either not having a phase or you're having an incredible phase. So it's making it more averagey.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is what the whole Magic Phase as a whole is doing is making the active player or the caster more powerful than the dispel.
Yeah.
Because there are sometimes, I guess,
if you roll a double, then it was either very good, like 6-6 would be very good because you've got 6 more than your opponent. 1-1, similar situation.
Yeah.
Whereas if you rolled a 6 and a 1, you've only got 1 more.
Yeah, and they're maxing it to up to 4 more dice, aren't they? So
up to 3. No, is it 3 or 4? We'll find out in a minute.
But yeah, so but I quite like it.
I do.
It's very different, very different.
Yeah,
and the way the Veil tokens work is different.
It's basically just telling you what the strength of the Winds of Magic is, which is pretty cool.
But yeah, I like it.
And it's kind of a fluffy thing. And let's go on to siphoning the Veil, as it's called. So you were right, up to 4 magic dice can be added. So you siphon the Veil, you turn your Veil tokens into more magic dice. And this is, as we said, for the active player. It's not for the reactive player. So the reactive player with their dispel dice cannot gain any more, but the active player can gain more by converting Veil tokens at a ratio of 3-1. If you have 3 Veil tokens, you can add 1 magic dice. Yeah. But what's critical about this is it's a choice. It's not something you have to do.
Yeah.
So if you haven't actually got a very powerful magic phase, you don't have to convert those Veil tokens in this turn. You can save them.
Up to 3.
Up to 3.
At this point, it's up to 3.
Up to 3 for your next magic phase. So it may be turn 1. You draw a card that says you've got 5 Veil tokens, and you don't need them this turn. So you say, I won't convert any of them. I'll just save 3 for my next magic phase, which I know is going to be quite a useful one, because I'll be in range of my magic missiles, etc.
Although what I'd say is, if you've got, if you've got 5, I would probably do 3, so that you've got 2 for your next phase.
Well, that's
things
player
like
choice, isn't
absolutely.
it?
You do what you want.
Don't tell me what I have to do.
This is our opinion all around. But
well, yours are wrong.
I would, yeah, well, exactly. I would, yeah.
I like Siphoning the Veil.
I think it's
really cool. Yeah. What's interesting is I don't think it's given a very obvious channel. It says channel there, and you can increase your Veil tokens by having a channel special rule on your wizards. So yeah, you increase your Veil pool by the amount of channel each wizard has, and we'll cover channel later on when the rule actually is said. So that's all good. Spellcasting sequence, I think, is pretty much the same as it used to be.
Yep. You say what you're doing. You're saying whether it's a higher or lower level.
Yeah.
You say how many dice you're using.
Maximum 5 as it was before.
Does it.
Yeah.
Jobs are good 'un.
Yeah, and so long as you've told people that you're boosting it, then you go with the boosted version. I haven't encountered many players that, if you're rolling 5 dice and you haven't said you're using the boosted version, chances are they're going to let you.
Depends who you're against.
Depends who you're against, yeah. So, yeah, whatever. Rules affecting casting and dispelling attempts. The casting and dispelling modifiers, that's been reduced somewhat in that now only Wizard Masters have an automatic +1 to cast.
Yeah, there's not many of these flying around.
Gone are the days where you used to have +4 to casting, etc. And so, you may not exceed +2 or -2, which is quite cool.
So there's not going to be many of them around, which makes them better when you have them, I think.
It is hard to remember if you've got modifiers, and having a maximum +2 or -2 is good. It does limit it. And,
remove lost focus.
Yeah, that's
remove
gone.
overwhelming power. So there's no, they're limiting how much the dice can affect it.
Yeah. So yeah, a really bad roll isn't quite as bad as it used to be. Yeah. Which I like.
Even more so with the next rule,
Fizzle. I like it. I do like Fizzle. So if you get really unlucky and roll 1s and fail to cast your spell, you get your 1s back.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you roll lots of 2s, then you're still scuppered.
Yeah. Bad luck, mate.
Yeah. So yeah, you get your dice back that roll a 1, which is really cool.
Yeah. Be something to start off with when we're playing the battles. That'd be something to remember.
Yeah.
Quite hard to remember. But
it will. But obviously, if you do manage to make the casting value, then you don't get them back, even if the spell is dispelled.
Yeah.
Especially not if the spell is cast. Not enough power.
That's only when you're using 1 dice.
Yes.
So if you roll a 1 or 2, it's no matter what happens or however many modifiers and things, it's not cast, and you don't get a fizzle.
Yeah, you don't get. You never want that.
Because when you're doing 1 dice, you're chancing it, and it's giving you less reason to do that.
Yeah, it's punishing you for being so cocky.
Don't be cocky. Stop being cocky.
Do it.
Grab another dice.
Exactly.
Come on, mate.
The dispelling attempt is similar to it was. There is no maximum for how many dice you can use to dispel. So if you really want to get rid of that spell, you can just roll all your dice in your pool. I think that mainly dispelling players, reactive players, are going to be dispelling 1 spell a turn, maybe 2 if they're lucky.
Yeah.
I think depending on the casting roll.
And if someone fails to cast or something, I think you might get more off spelling wise. But agreed.
And if the dispeller, the reactive player, fails to dispel it, then you resolve the spell, which is awesome. And obviously you also resolve the Path of Tribute, which has been around for a little while, and I like. You do have to check your memory and make sure you don't forget your Path of Tribute.
There's a lot of synergies in the attributes.
They usually just enhance, seems to be the word.
Yes.
They enhance the original spell that you are casting, which is all good. Okay, so on to miscasts, which has totally got a complete revamp, really, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. It's so different from last time, or the last iterations.
And I think there's going to be a lot less miscasting overall.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hardly ever see it, especially if you're clever about it and sensible with the dice you use. If you use 2 or 3, but if you use 2, you'll never
miscast.
But let's get into it first.
Okay, cool. So when making a casting roll with 3 or more magic dice, they have to roll the same value, and it counts as a miscast.
Mm-hmm. So you roll 3 6s,
or
3 2s, or 3 4s, etc.
And the number you roll is actually important because depending on how many you've rolled, as it says here, if you roll 3 magic dice, then your miscast effect is slightly less damaging. The number you roll that is a triple is reduced by 1. Like it says in the example, 4 counts as 3. But if you're rolling lots of magic dice, like 5, which is the maximum, then you're getting a bit of a punishment because the number you roll is increased by 1.
Yeah. And depending on what the triple that you roll is, what's going to affect the actual miscast effect.
The punishment.
Yeah.
Which is these effects here.
Yeah.
And
I don't think any of these are massively too bad either.
No, I don't think so. No.
I don't think these are going to happen a lot because the chances of you getting 3 say, with 3 dice is unlikely, and you're not going to use much more than 3 or 4 to cast most of the things because all the casting values have gone down.
Yeah.
So, and then even when it does happen, I think not too bad. Depends what race you are. If you're elves, that magical inferno, that scares you to death.
Yes, it does.
But they're not too bad, especially if they can be upped and down by how many dice you use and flux cards as well. So if you get a certain flux card, you get
we skipped over that. Didn't we?
Skipped over that really, but then you get -2 and a +2. So
yeah, because I mean, I'm sure there are statisticians out there who would know the chances of rolling a triple with 5 dice.
That is not us.
Again, it's not us. So. We don't know that kind of stats. So, yeah.
But yeah, they're not too bad. I think if we go through them quickly.
Yeah. You don't want to get through them. That's cool.
Yeah, so failed attempts, if you get 1s, which isn't too bad. Applying fizzle as normal is interesting, so you'd still get all your dice back. So if you roll 3, you roll 3 1s, you get all your dice back anyway. So
as though you never bothered. But you wouldn't be able to cast that spell again.
No, which is the downfall, I guess. Which is D6 hits with how many dependent. So if you roll 4 dice, it's D6 strength 4 hits.
Yeah.
Magical Inferno is 2d6 strength 3 or 4,
which is where elves are starting to panic.
Yeah. Amnesia, you just lose a spell, which means no damage. It's annoying more than anything.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking you don't get the previous ones as well? So if you roll 3 4s, you don't also have to apply Magical Inferno.
No, it's not cumulative.
It's not like that anymore.
Absolutely
it was in 1.3.
If you get D6 and 2d6, that would be terrible.
Well,
but no, it's not. Backlash is what the caster suffers 2 hits, the wound on a 4+, so that's damage to your mage that's doing a spell, and implosion is 4, so it could possibly kill him. But that's a possible kill him. The reason it says 7/7 is because if
you roll 5 dice, you're adding a +1 to the,
and then maybe you have flux card. 8 or whatever it is to add +1 as well.
But they haven't got a 888, have they? So.
No, it's 7 or more, isn't it? Yeah. So, and then you do that, you're gone.
Yes, which is obviously the bad one, but you'd have to semi-deserve it, really. If you're rolling 5 dice, you're getting 666.
Absolutely, yeah.
Chances are you've gone out with a bang, literally.
Yeah, that's the spell you absolutely needed to get off. And of course, there's a chance that this might get dispelled.
Yes, because if it gets dispelled, you don't apply the miscast effect at all. Yeah. So when you roll that 666, you kind of hope your opponent's going to dispel it anyway.
On 5 dice, yeah.
But I suppose that's the thing. As the dispeller, you would decide, you would know that your opponent's caster is going to die.
Yeah, screw you.
Because you could calculate that. There's no roll. You don't roll 2d6 anymore. There's no chance about it.
Yeah.
You know that caster is going to be killed. So let it go if you can afford to.
Let it go.
Oh, don't do that. Moving swiftly on. Bounce spells. So these have been changed a bit as well.
Yeah, quite drastically, I think.
Yeah. So the fact that they're still there is the same, and there's still items that contain bounce spells, which is all pretty similar.
Yeah, that's cool because it allows different. So, say you've got one in the rule book, it allows different people.
Yeah, you don't have to be a wizard or anything like that. Yeah, but the power level part of it has changed. A lot of the bounce spells did have power levels before. Well, they all did, but now they've got 2 power levels, and you have to choose whether you're casting it with the lower power level or the higher one. And instead of rolling any dice to decide your casting value, you literally just take out the amount of magic dice that you want to apply to it.
And it's automatically done. So you say if you want this off at power level 5 in that example, you just take off 2.
2 magic
it's
dice.
Off.
Yeah.
There's no chance to it at all.
No.
Which I like. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so do I. It's a lot cleaner. Yeah.
It makes it a lot more consistent and I think worthwhile taking as well.
Yeah.
Well, although I would say that you probably, most of them, from what I can see, is you're 2 dice in the bounce spells.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't going to use this thing, you'd use 2 dice anyway to cast.
Yes, so it's gone with what you would most likely be doing anyway.
But I like it.
Yeah. Yes, so do I. And yeah, like it says, casting it is pretty much the same. And yeah, you can't attempt the same bounce spell twice.
Yeah, so it follows most of the same rules as Magic, only you're not actually rolling dice, which I think is cool. The Dispeller does, though.
Yes, the Dispel does have to use dice from their Dispel pool, which is fine because they know what value they have to meet because of the casting value of the bounce spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the bounce spell's got casting level 5 and you've chosen to use the lower level, lost 2 dice, the Dispeller could risk 1 dice.
Yeah. If you're feeling lucky, punk.
Yeah, and then roll a 5 up and they've dispelled it. Yeah, or they could roll 5 dice and
make sure.
Overkill.
Yeah. You are not feeling lucky, punk.
No.
You are making sure.
Yeah. Magical move is similar to how it was.
It's pretty much the same. I think one of the things they've just said and added is that advance and march rate are always equal to this value. So maybe, but I didn't come across it myself. But maybe before they had
there must have been a loophole there.
Yeah, but so they've cleaned it up. Otherwise, it's the same. So you can only you'll have 1 rate, and you can move magically.
Yeah, and I like these spells as well.
Yeah,
they're really cool.
Yeah.
I think your Van Hels is just that now, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure. To be honest,
if it's even called Van Hels anymore, don't know if it is.
Who knows?
I think it's a number 6 spell in that lore, though.
Yeah,
path rather.
New names for everything.
Yeah, and recover health points and raise health points. I think this one's just been cleared up and all the wording changed. Yeah, but I think it's exactly the same as it was.
Pretty much, you'll see on the blue. Most of the blue words are health points, which just replaces wounds.
Spams health points. Yeah.
But the only thing you need to remember in this is recover wounds as opposed to raise. So you can never recover a dead model, but you can raise a dead model.
Yes,
that's probably the biggest one.
I could be wrong when I'm saying this. You might have encountered it more. I haven't found anything in any of the books where it says you can raise a unit above its starting value anymore.
No, probably not. The only reason it was in vampire stuff was because the necromancers had an ability. Yeah. So, and often the vampires would have to choose an ability. Yeah. So there's not you can't. I don't think you can raise it above.
I don't think you can anymore. But there could be something out there that.
But there may be loopholes or items that allow that. I'm thinking of the undead, and this is probably where it speaks to you really.
Yeah.
This is more likely to be with undead. Yeah. But I imagine there's druidism as well, which is a magic lore which goes into it a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and summoned units again is much the undead sort of stuff.
Or in totemic summon.
Oh yeah, is that? Oh, do they count as a summoned unit? Does it?
Yeah, very much so.
Cool.
So, and it basically it comes up. You can't put it into impassable terrain, and it doesn't. There are any points.
Yeah, which is fine. That was better that way because it's just hard working out how much that unit would have been.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a real difficulty for your opponent to get rid of, but that's probably one of the spells you would really look at getting rid of unless you can afford to let it go.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. But yeah, so just to clear up that point, really, this one.
Yeah. Okay, on to the shooting phase then. So Yeah, predominantly it's the same, apart from one big change, which I'll move down to now.
Yeah.
Which is the aim side of things. And they've got rid of ballistic skill.
Yep.
It is a thing of the past.
It's gone.
Instead of that, models now who choose a shooting weapon will find that that shooting weapon will have a value after it, which is shown here. So if you're choosing a longbow, you've got a value after it, which shows you your aim.
Yeah, which I think is interesting, really, because it's similar to the concept of the Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Where they have like to hit rolls and to things. And
it tells you what you need to get it. And so, this is very much a to hit roll on a value. So in those examples, your longbow hits on a 3 or more.
Yeah, surprised. But I like it.
I like it as well. I'd like to know who came up with it. Because did they just... I don't want to say steal it.
Well, no, absolutely not.
Because we're not accusing
copyright. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Nothing much to update from the other thing. It's just saying that things like you can only shoot in the first 2 ranks. Follows line of sight, which is coming up.
Yeah.
Characters and units have to shoot at the same target,
which is one you always forget.
I always forget that. And always try and cheat my way out.
You always make me feel like a nasty person when I stop you.
And to measure the models individually. That's the only.
Yeah, I think that one's been one for a while, but it's always worth clarifying is that each model has its own.
Just something to think about. But otherwise, unchanged.
And a lot simpler with each model having its own aim. Yeah. You don't have to, like, ballistic skill 4, hits on a 3, and stuff like that. You just have it written down.
And because of that, the shooting to hit table has gone.
It's gone. It has gone. But one thing that hasn't changed too much is that...
to hit modifiers.
It's not quite as simple as just hitting on the aim value.
So there are things that affect it negatively. And other than spells, I think there's not much that affects it positively, really. But so you've got all these things. Skirmishes and multiple shots have been taken out. I believe all skirmishes have been given hard target to clear that up.
Yep.
And I believe multiple shots is included in the aim value.
Yes, it is, yeah. So throwing weapons will hit on a 5, which when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's pretty rubbish. But that's because they've always got multiple shots.
So I think that's why they've been taken out. Otherwise, it's pretty the same in terms of how they affect everything.
Yeah, and some rules have had their names changed. I don't think accurate existed before, did it?
No. No, accurate means if you're at long range, you don't suffer minus to hit penalties, which is shown perfectly by that.
Yeah.
And same with quick to fire. But yes, they may have changed in that regard, but no big changes here.
Yeah. But I can see that chart coming up a lot if you've got a lot of modifiers going on or you're shooting at a particularly hard, not hard target or special target, shall we say?
Special.
Yeah, so we've talked about all of those.
Cover's a big one, but there's some diagrams that help to show that, and it's one of those where you could spend hours and hours and hours talking about it and what affects what and things. And I think there are some really good diagrams later on.
Move down? Are they coming up or not yet?
Not yet. In a little while, but they're really good. They're really helpful, and it would just be a case of referring to those diagrams to see
which one applies to your situation.
Applies. So I would, rather than go too much into it now and that, I think that's your best bet. Yeah,
and obviously when you're playing an opponent, it's best to establish what on the battlefield is what, and how tall everything is and stuff like that, so that everyone knows what kind of cover might
be effective. If it comes up, as I said, the diagrams are there to help you out if there's any dispute.
Yeah.
Soft cover and hard cover, it's just about talking about different terrain pieces and the size and things, which again are covered by the diagrams. Skirmishes are completely ignored, from what I can tell.
Yeah. Because they've now got a hard target, which is a separate thing rather than cover. I think
there may be a mistake in here that I've spotted. If you just go up a bit.
Hold it. Yeah.
In the top one, hard cover is only -1.
Oh yeah, whereas it means it should be -2.
Whereas
and it actually says -2
down
in the
here,
title.
It says -2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good spot. Yeah, it says -2 twice there, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's definitely -2 for hard cover.
Unless there's something about if you're in hard cover, you count as soft cover and hard cover.
No, it's just as if you're in both, then. Oh, I guess so. I know what you mean. But it says if you're in both, you just count the hard cover, so it's not cumulative.
Yeah.
So if you've got a forest and then impassable terrain or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know I can't be right because if a target is benefiting from both hard cover and soft cover, only apply the hard cover modifier.
Right, so
yeah, it
must be a mistake.
It is a typo. But I think most people are going to realise that is still a -2
absolutely.
for hard cover.
I thought it actually before I looked at that. So.
So hopeless shots, and this is something that affects my poisoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Saurians with
my
poison
Saurians.
shots.
Yeah. Because previously a hopeless shot would interact with. Well, it wouldn't exist really. You'd basically have, if your aim plus your modifiers turns into a value above 6, you wouldn't be able to use poison or special effects that applied to the shot. But now they've changed it ever so slightly, and they've added in something called hopeless shots, where the rules are pretty much the same in that if you roll a 6 and you need a 7, you just have to roll a second dice to get that hit to be successful.
Yeah, it'll end up being the same thing, so you might need a 6 and then a 4.
Yeah.
On the dice it'll be the same, it's just the way you apply it is different.
Yeah, and I suppose actually I'm jumping the gun here by talking about poison, aren't I? Because...
ever so slightly, but essentially poison can hit on a 7.
Yes, with poison still being valid.
Yeah.
If you roll a 6 to begin with.
But basically how it works in the mechanics of it, I guess, is if you keep applying the negative modifiers until you get to 6. Yeah. You then roll the dice to hit on the 6, and those 6s that hit, you then apply your the remaining negative modifiers. So if you've got it's a hard target for -2.
Well, do you see that example there?
Oh, well, there you go.
That's easier.
Yeah, if you've got that example there, that's how it was. So if you want to look into it a bit more, but it's not a biggie in terms of that one. But as you say, it does interact with other rules quite nicely.
Which I guess we'll talk about more when poison actually comes up later in our review. So I'll stop narking on about my...
Spoiler! Yeah. Spoiler alert, thank you.
Oh, I just love my...
Come on, guys.
Or skink hunters, I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since they took down that Terrorgeist.
Oh, bad times.
Good times. What do you say? Good times.
Who knows?
And these diagrams helping out again?
Yeah, just to clarify. I must admit, all the diagrams in the book,
they're beautiful, aren't they?
There's lots of them, and they're very helpful. They do make...
If only playing a battlefield could have access to these lines and things.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh, I suppose there's online gaming versions that do have them.
And there are those like laser
battle
things as well. But
yeah.
Laser.
Some more diagrams. Wonderful. Very useful.
Yeah.
Oh, more
these are really good. We won't go into too much because we'll be here for another hour if we are, but
we don't want to do that. Here's your diagram.
Here's my diagram. But yeah, so it shows you all you have to do is look at this diagram, all these diagrams, and see what sort of size you are.
Yeah.
And what you're shooting against, what's in the middle, and it should anything that does affect cover will be on here.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Okay, so that's all of shooting done, isn't it? So I think we're on to melee or
melee next. But
shall we stop there?
Yeah, let's stop there. That's
this one here,
and we'll crack on next time. So
okay.
So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the next video.
Yeah, see you next time.